Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR401. It's WWE Day 1, and I am not alone. I have the pleasure to be joined by Jaxie. How you doing?
Hello, Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Maybe I should have said that. Happy New Year, everyone. Forget Jaxie just said that. I wish everybody here a happy, fruitful New Year. No, seriously, how was your New Year?
Yeah, it was good. Just catching up with friends, family, that sort of thing. It was nice to be able to.
Well, it's nice. And what's weird as well was the last time you were on was the WNR400. Of course, the greatest podcast. Did you enjoy yourself there?
Yes, obviously, it was probably one of the highlights of the end of the year of 20.
Well, like I said, and what's more exciting than anything, we are going to go the Prediction League as well. The Prediction League is cool. It's not James versus Dan anymore. It's a team WNR. We're going to go to more detail in a little bit, but we have excitedly done year-end predictions now. It's a lot of work that goes into it, and I appreciate it, but it will pay off because it's all bonus points at the end of the year. How did you find the year-end? Because obviously, at the end of the year, you're going to have no idea what you've put down.
Yeah, it's like one of those time capsule things, isn't it? That people do when they pack something away from school era and then go from that. So it's going to be very interesting to see kind of like what we've come up with and whether or not that holds any truth. I tried really hard to think about my answers as well, so I've tried to be calculated. But I mean, just like every year, wrestling really does surprise us. So you never know.
Well, like I said, you never know. And it's the very beginning, and some of it you come across as a genius, and some of it is just funny. But the payoff is worthwhile. But we have got prediction leagues. Of course, we've got the WWE starting as well. So there's a lot, I guess, to look forward to in 2022. We talked about it on the WNR400. How are you? Are you excited for 2022?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what it brings. I'm really excited, especially when it comes from a wrestling fan point of view, to kind of see major returns that might actually be upcoming, to see new sort of ideas and content being attempted, whether it's trial and error. You never know. I'm just excited in the world of wrestling. We've got so much that we discussed towards the end of last year on the podcast, and just so much to look forward to this side of the year. It's kind of a really exciting time, not just for us as a podcast, but just us as the wrestling universe.
Well, without a doubt, like you said, we've got Day 1 now. Of course, we've got the Impact Hard to Kill coming up, but we're going to look on the live show, of course, the kind of the jewel in the crown, as it was the Rumble live show at the end of the month, which is going to massive as well. We've got lives there, but of course we're going to look at Wrestle Kingdom as well, even New Year's Evil. There's a lot going on, like you said, and believe it or not, the last WWE pay-per-view before Day 1 was, of course, Survivor Series back in November 21st. So we're just going to get a few notes from WWE since then and catch up. It doesn't feel like we've been away from WWE for that amount of time, but you never know, do you?
No, definitely. To be honest, until you actually said it, I was just thinking to myself, have we not? It feels like we have spoken about it.
This is the thing. It's crazy, and we're going to start looking at Raw November 22nd. Zelina and Carmella won the tag team titles. What a run Cross and Ripley had. We get another Mexican wave during the title match. You wankers. That must have frustrated me. And Omos took the fire extinguisher but left his mouth open. Now, have you ever seen that? When the fire extinguisher goes, why would you have your mouth open to catch it? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was a little confusing. You just kind of were wondering what he was doing.
Well, SmackDown November 26th, we get Reigns opening promo. They gave Jeff Hardy the tag win in his hometown with McIntyre his partner. More on that. We get Rich Holland debuting. Storm getting pied by Charlotte twice. The Naomi story continued with Pat asking some hard-hitting questions. The one contender Battle Royal featured no Drew. Retro-looking Jeff should have won, but incredibly Sami Zayn did. And the main news was Brock's return for next week. Sami Zayn is number one contender. Could you believe it?
I mean, this kind of came out of nowhere, really, didn't it? So it definitely took me by surprise. But I also must admit I wasn't, mad about it either. I love Sami Zayn. I love watching him on the mic. I love watching what he's just gonna kind of do with himself. So yeah, it's always just fun to watch him. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and this is what's good to see. And I know WWE can be hard work sometimes, but especially I think the run up to day one, seeing Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens be able to kind of spread their wings. It's just entertaining television. They seem like they've not got any shackles. You hear about produced, and I don't know how much of their stuff is written for them.
Yeah, I get you. I understand.
On to the 29th of November, the Raw. Rollins, Big E set for day one. We see Seth beating Balor. Randy Orton wearing a wig, but he now has the most wins on Raw in history. That is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry about that.
We see it
was definitely something that I didn't see coming from that interview.
Well, we see Edge return. Miz interrupted. We get some good lines between them. Miz main event at Mania when Edge opened the show. Edge responds saying Miz in a lot of people's mouths and heads, of course, referencing MJF and CM Punk talking about him. The Hurt Business, the Jobbers. We get a fantastic 10-women tag. Morgan getting a win over Team Lynch. Vince McMahon slapping the shit out of Austin Theory. And Owens playing mind games with Rollins and got added to the day one title match after beating Big E thanks to Rollins. My question is, why are the heels the only smart ones in WWE? If Owens was a face, he would have been beaten.
I mean, you're not wrong there, are you?
That's what I'm saying. It's just, as soon as you turn heel, you become cleverer. You'll be able to outsmart people. And it's meant to be the faces.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, go on.
I feel like it's just more a case that Vince hates faces. It comes across more like that.
Well, on SmackDown December the 3rd, we get 17 minutes of in-ring action given to Baszler versus Banks, LaFares versus Raiders, Jay versus Woods, Kofi did return though, and Cesaro Sheamus. 17 minutes. Storm, Kate, Charlotte, but of course the main story is Brock. He convinced Sami to have his title match. Zayn, like I said, doesn't get his due, and Lesnar with some comedy. Him and Zayn work really well together.
This has just kind of been overall surprising coming from Brock. He doesn't come across like a people person, so to see this sort of entertainment section with Sami has just been very different, but I'm really enjoying it. I actually really like this Brock. Apart from his clothing choice, what is with the sort of farmer overall kind of look? I really don't get it. I think he should have gone more down like the Viking route if he was going to do something like that, because he looks like a Viking from the face. So yeah, the farmer look isn't really doing it for me. But apart from that, we'll talk more about actual Brock and kind of my stance on things with him as we discuss the pay-per-view coming up. But this whole segment, putting him with Sami, I did not think could work, and it just completely took everyone.
I think that's just Brock's normal day clothes, but like I said, it was fun, and we thought Brock was on Sami's side until he beat the crap out of him, leaving him for Roman Reigns to deliver a spear and hit the guillotine for the successful title defense. Now it's going to be Lesnar Reigns on January 1st. Raw 6th of December. It's the third or fourth cage match in 3 days for WWE. It saw Big E beat Owens in a bagalow. They have crazy chemistry. And then Big Bad Bobby came out and destroyed all three. What do you think of Lashley? He's got this added intensity.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like the best he's looked in terms of eye-catching to the audience. He's really kind of making a statement, not just with his wrestling, but just kind of his overall demeanor, the way he's been. He's been very dominant these past few weeks. Him and MVP work really well together. And I just think that even though I really am happy to have seen Big E become champion and cash in, that is exactly what I wanted to see. I also still feel like it was too soon to have taken the title off Bobby Lashley. I felt like um, he was already becoming a great champion and had the start with the momentum of a great run. And I felt like it was just kind of like thwarted a little bit. And you can't say mad at it when it's Biggie who's the outcome, who's the winner. But at the same time, there was a little part of me that's just kind of like, oh, could he win at day one because of how dominant he's become? And like his entrance is probably one of my favorite entrances that WWE have created and done right.
I think the only thing that Bobby Lashley's last year, I think the only thing that was a problem was, of course, Goldberg beating him. But I think even when we look back at the way they did it, kind of makes sense from a certain point of view, because Goldberg, if he's a legend, needs to pick up here and there. But I think Lashley's year from McIntyre at WrestleMania as well, I think that's an underrated match, and I think there's a lot more potential with Bobby, with Drew or Big E, or even someone like Kevin Owens there as well.
I agree completely.
We see Zelina Vega beat Nikki Ash. Looks like Nikki is cross. Speaking of which, Omos and AJ had fallout. It happened during the arcade Bronament. Yes, I just said that. Street Profits won after Omos got counted out, and AJ told him he should listen to him. Omos off. Even Riddle couldn't get an exclusive. Priest beat Rude. Doudrop chose to get counted out in a match with Belair. We get a good Miz TV with Edge after a slight back and forth. Miz rejected a match. Mysterio's beat Alpha in morning action. Balor beat T-Bar. Austin Theory attacked. And the main event, we see a great Liv promo. Thought it would be a night against Becky Lynch, but Lynch, of course, retained by cheating. But an A for effort. And Liv, the little girl, the GIF will live forever now. Up with Ms. Girl, I think. We hope. And then the news, I'm sure we have talked about Jeff Hardy being released from WWE after, 4 weeks since then. How are you feeling about Jeff Hardy? I think it's going to work out for Jeff, hopefully, in the end.
Yeah, I feel like as much as, it's kind of gutting to kind of read certain news stories and kind of hear one story or another. So you're not really 100% sure what really went down, even though it's a harsh way for him to leave. I kind of hope this opens up a few more doors for him. As everyone knows, his brother's in AEW. I think he's got a lot of potential to still do as great. He's still such a much loved wrestler across multiple different age ranges, like from newer fans to the older fans from the Attitude Era. So I would like to see him and hopefully get to see him wrestle at least one more time or a few more times if that is the route he wants to take. The first and foremost is that he looks after his health. So as long as he's kind of looking after himself first, I just hope to see him back on our TVs at some point.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. We'll move on SmackDown December 10th. Sammy in a neck brace and wheelchair. Got the shit kicked out of him by an overall wearing Lesnar. Like we said, those two are gold. Lothario's lost to Boogs and Nakamura. When will Nakamura defend the Intercontinental title? I hear you say. We have got more on that later. Pierce couldn't remove Drew's sword. That is not a euphemism, by the way. McIntyre in a good match. Lovely tribute to Black Jack Lanza. And then Naomi versus Deville finally. 4 months ago it started. Can you believe? 4 months ago. Natalya was special guest referee. Ring announcer Baszler's the timekeeper. We see Naomi took the fight to Baszler and rocked Natalya, ensuring it was 1-on-1. With Deville try stalling Zia. Lee made a debut face-to-face with Naomi. And together they cleared the heels out of the ring. Deville did not get a comeuppance though. She left ringside area heels. So what are your thoughts on this? Naomi versus Deville with all these shenanigans.
I mean, I've had a bit of a short temper when it's come to this sort of treatment of Naomi or the storyline that they are doing with Naomi at this point. I'm just interested to seeing other women getting a push at this point, and if this is actually going to lead to Naomi getting a push, then I'm all for it. But if it's not, and they're just going to continue to like, put her down or not put her over, kind of like a lot of the situation that's been happening with a lot of the other women on the brand, such as like, even Shayna. If we don't see anything come of this feud between both Sonya and Naomi, then I don't understand the whole point of it. So I hope that this is sort of like just, a notch in the belt to continuously keep building on Naomi, because she has a huge fan base. She's great in the ring, and they don't get enough time in the ring, so it would be nice to see if she actually gets a push.
Yeah. Also, Zia Lee's entrance, and I know that's not what we're talking about. You're being quite serious, but like I said, I completely agree with you, but I think that was nice to see her there. We see Toni Storm beating Charlotte by DQ. Way to make Tony a challenger. In the main event, New Day beat RK Bro and you become the best team in WWE. Apparently, I suppose they are the best team. And then Raw, December 13th, Otis beat Riddle. Belair beat Doudrop in a good match. Lynch granted Liv a rematch for Day 1. Balor and Police flirted. Then they lost to Dirty Dogs after Fury distracted Finn. Zelina beat Ripley in a blink and you miss it match. Vega is improving on the mic though. I quite like it. Miz TV with Maurice as host. Miz eventually attacked Edge, but Edge took over with a spear. Miz saved himself by putting Maurice in front of him, causing Edge to stop and allowed Miz to hit the skull-crushing finale. Maurice was furious and slapped her husband before storming off. Now, I don't know what your thoughts on this storyline, but I actually enjoyed it.
I thought it was entertaining, but I also feel very much like it's kind of like I've been there, done that situation when it comes to the Miz and Maurice feuding with someone, So I just kind of was a little bit like, I wouldn't say like I was not entertained by this, but I was already kind of wondering whether or not this is just recycled material again,
I know that's fair enough, but I think because I enjoy Raw, of course, but it's always nice to see something a bit, like you said, old school, it is a little bit retro. So be it. We see the main story was Bobby.
If this does actually result in sort of them bringing back more, more mixed match challenges, I'll be more than happy with that as a result, because I really used to enjoy the mixed match challenge. And I don't think it needs to necessarily be challenges. I just think that, bringing back regular mixed match, it just changes things up a little bit, and I think that that's something that they could probably do with at the moment.
Right, we used to call it Mixed Match Challenge. Oscar and Miz was my favourite team of all time as well. So like I said, that's something that could work.
It was Oscar's whole, sort of continuous storyline that they continue to add to it, which was don't lose my streak, which they fucked up there and that come WrestleMania. But let's not open that can of worms again, okay?
We'll do at one point. Like I said, we'll have a real deep dive into your problems with Charlotte, and it will go back to WrestleMania.
I need to mentally prepare for that discussion, so that I don't just come across like really bitter, and people just think that I'm just bitter at Charlotte for no reason.
Well, the main story was Bobby, who beat Owens, Rollins, and Biggie in singles action to be added to the Day 1 WWE title match. So much for winning their contract. Big Bad Bobby is back with a bang. And SmackDown's the 17th. Banks for a snazzy Spider-Man team with Storm. Tony pinned Charlotte, who teamed with Shotzi. Not bad. Viking Raiders beat Mahal and Shanky. Drew got his sword back from Happy, and I'm going to call him Dappy. Cesaro with Bad Rib lost to Sheamus, New Boy, Ridge Holland. Now, I spoke to Monty about this. What are your thoughts on the name Ridge Holland? Because for me, it sounds like a porn star.
I mean, it kind of sounds like a clothing brand. Do you not think? I thought it sounded like either a clothing brand or like, men's shoes type brand.
He's wearing a new jumper from Ridge Holland. That's
what you know what I mean? It sounds like it, right? You can hear someone saying that.
Ridge. I suppose it's a good word. For me, it's a silly name again. Speaking of, I say people challenging each other. Naomi challenged Deville to a match again, only for W official to book her in a bout with Baszler. The Queen of Spades attacked from behind, injuring the former women's champion left knee. Deville called for the bell. Baszler Sheamus got the best fellow. Naomi rolled her up for a quick upset win. Again, like I said, we'll see how it moves on. New Day beat Usos again. And in the main event segment, Roman asked Paul if he knew Brock Lesnar would be at SummerSlam or MSG. Why are you protecting Brock from me? Heyman fighting back tears, admitted he's not protecting Lesnar from Reigns. He's protecting Reigns from Lesnar. And at that point, I lost my shit because I thought that's probably the best line I've heard in wrestling in years. But Reigns then fired his special counsel and rocked him Superman punch before he could really do any damage. Lesnar made the save, wiping out the Usos and delivering two F5s to the head of the table. And it looks like maybe Heyman was right in his words. What do you think of this? Because I thought,
yeah, a great bit of promo telling. I definitely was one of those people that was like, oh shit, when he said that. I was definitely itching to see more. Like, this is how you make good content. And Paul Heyman, just anything he's involved with, he just delivers and excels in what he does best. So it was just quite entertaining, really.
Yeah, it was really, really good stuff. And then Raw, December 20th, Doudrop and Belair, and it turned out with Bianca hitting an awe-inspiring KOD for the win. If no one's seen this yet, Bianca Belair just continues to impress me. This before the year was out, picking up Doudrop and dropping a Balor beating. Miz TV got into the goings-on of Omos and AJ. Miz TV almost working as a program. Who would have thought? During a tag match versus the Mysterios, mind you, and we see Ray end rolling Styles up for the win after he almost had an issue. This led to the partners fighting. Almost caught him and dropped him on the mat with authority. So it looks like Omos and AJ coming to the end. We see Ziggler beating Priest by counter after he went batshit crazy on Big Bob. Cutting Edge featured Maurice, but he wasn't attacked anyway. What was the point? What's the point of having two talk show segments on a Raw? Or any show?
Again, I just kind of watched a catch-up video on that episode of Raw, but I was just kind of confused as to why they put two talk shows. They've only ever done, when they've done that before, it's because it's been like, a Alexa Bliss, a moment of bliss, and so it's like a female one and then a male one when they've done it with, either Kevin Owens or Sammy or someone. But I just didn't understand why we got two talk show segments on that. So I know that Raw is 3 hours long, but fill it with actual matches. Yeah. That's what people want to see. They don't want to see two. They don't want to see two talk show segments with wrestlers when they could actually have an additional 9 minutes added to a match. Do you know what I mean? Like, give the people what they want, for goodness sake.
Who's going to complain? It was like, oh, Raw, oh my God, there was like 5 25-minute matches. Like, what's wrong with that? As me for my maths is right. Yeah, that fits.
It's supposed to be wrestling. You're essentially giving us two segments where we have to actually suffer sitting through listening to bad creative writing be told over a mic. Rather than you just actually giving us what we all went there for, which is a wrestling sport eventually, essentially.
Well, I don't want to start off on the bad round with WWE, but if I put it into perspective, is like I said on the 400 about watching it on BT, and the catch-ups for SmackDown, sometimes there's been like an hour and 9. You think about the amount of adverts and replays and stuff like that they've cut out, it's still what they've shown. And that's a 2 hours, and you get Dynamite, which is an hour 45, so you actually get more, with more action. You just look at both, you go, they're meant to be the main flagship program, and it's just, that's the problem. 17 minutes on SmackDown, a few weeks ago, it's just not acceptable.
Yeah. It's not. And you're like, can you give us some more wrestling content? Stop giving us between 1 to 3 minute matches. No one wants to see a 1 to 3 minute match. Do you remember back in the Attitude Era days when you'd actually have the likes of absolute beasts coming out, for example, Big Show back in the day, and then he'd have like a squash match, and it would actually come across as a big deal because the squash matches weren't like always a thing. It's just like the roll up pin, and like everyone doesn't look at it like a surprise roll up anymore because no one's surprised apart from the wrestler you're pinning.
It's the same thing. It's we're going to get into it as well, and it's just the same thing happening over and over again in WWE. The main event of Raw was Big E and Bobby versus Owens and Rollins. Bobby pinning Owens. Big Kev and Seth teamed up to take up Bob and Big E after. Then the last SmackDown of the year, 24th December, cameras caught up with Heyman, who sat across from Caleb Braxton. Special interview, Grace Dumbledore in his tired face. What a performer. Good old. And then SmackDown Women's Championship match, Tony Charlotte. Now, I've heard about women losing title matches, but to leave WWE after this is quite an achievement on WWE's part. Charlotte was going to cheat, got caught. So then beat her clean with Tony Storm crying on the apron afterwards. The chemistry was all off. The crowd didn't care. The booking makes people hate Charlotte. She is the female Triple H. You look at Triple H in 2003. That's what she is right now. And as for Tony, like I said, she had enough. She quit. What were your thoughts on the whole situation?
I mean, I actually just think good on her for just kind of knowing her worth and just taking herself out of the equation before it kept getting worse. You pied the girl twice, then you're giving her like consistent shots at the title, but then having all this fuckery with Charlotte DQing herself and count outs or this, that, and the other. It's just bullshit. And then the one time you do let her win, and it's not like kind of like for the title. It's just the one time she does pin Charlotte is like actually in a tag match. It just kind of feels like, kind of what I was discussing earlier when it comes to like the treatment of Naomi and whether the outcome of this is going to actually mean a significant push for her or not. Because if this is the outcome, like I do not blame Tony in the slightest for leaving.
Well, she was granted her release. She's 26 years old, of course, former Mae Young Classic winner. And apparently it was a last-minute call. She was told at 8 a.m. in the morning that she had to go to Washington that night. She felt burned out as well. She's spoken about her frustrations having to sit in catering SmackDown. Let's not forget she debuted. We actually joked about it. She debuted, just after WrestleMania, just sat around doing absolutely nothing. And again, I'm not one of those who goes, go to AEW. Go anywhere, Tony. You were great before the Mae Young Classic. You were fantastic in it. Go elsewhere. And it seems weird that, Mae Young Classic, bit like Mixed Match Challenge, something the WNR has looked at. And it's like Kari saying as well from there, having a kind of WWE schedule and kind of burning out. And it's interesting to see kind of Io Shirai's working. You just think how they're going to fuck her up on the main roster. And I think,
yeah.
And if they have Mandy Rose, I don't want to talk about NXT, but if they have Mandy Rose beating it, just can't have it.
Yeah. I mean, like, to be honest, I still think it's quite questionable, and I know that this was something that we did go into great discussion about in terms of Raquel Gonzalez and sort of her level of experience and when she won the title. But seriously, the likes of Mandy Rose being able to even take out the likes of Raquel Gonzalez, I just don't see it. It's like it's more fantasy booking than reality at this point, and it's just a bit like I feel like sometimes WWE try to treat their fans as if we're stupid.
Well, I think we are, to keep going back. 12 days, the 12 days of Christmas gauntlet match, and it boiled down to Ricochet and Zayn, with Sammy getting the win and facing Naka at, I thought, day one. I was wrong. I could watch those two fight all day. Only Cesaro and Sheamus mattered elsewhere. And then you get a Miracle and 34th Street Fight. McIntyre, New Day beating Madcap Moss and the Usos. This was all right. There was a few laughs. Actually, one of the laughs was Madcap Moss getting hit in the back of the head. I think final shot SmackDown, and he sold it really, really well. But my problem is, who's tidying up that mess? Whose job is?
Yeah, I really hope they get paid well. Because of when even like the likes of they do the Street Profits entrance and just absolutely litter with those of plastic cups everywhere. I just think it's like, first of all, like, how much recycling are you doing?
Yeah.
That was completely uncalled for, with all that plastic just for that entrance. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It does make you think, like, when they do ridiculous things like that, like, at least make it make sense. Like, how I think the Young Bucks at one point used to do it, where like money used to stream out and stuff like that. It made sense, like that was their sort of like their run, their character.
And it's
And it looked,
recyclable.
it's money. Yeah, but it's money, like it's like paper and stuff like that as well. But like, some of these things, they look nice, but are they? They're not really environmental friendly. So what is the point on doing it? Is like even worse with the street puff one though, because plastic cups just falling down from the ceiling doesn't look good. It just looks like the inside of a recycling bin that's picking up a bin and throwing everything away. That's what it looks like.
I think it's only a handful of plastic cups they use in the entrance. I think the rest is done on the screen and stuff like that. And I'm sure with Vince McMahon being the way he would collect the same cups and put them back in the machine. He was, no, I want exactly the same plastic cups. On to the last Raw of the year, December 27th. Orton Riddle start the show leading to Riddle beating Gable and Orton beating Otis. And of course, they're facing the Profits. Randy did fake an RKO when Bro hugging of the Profits. They beat the Mysterios in the RK Bronament. Remember that? Ford did fly low. New face AJ beat Cruz in a good match after a promo with Waller. What are your thoughts on the Waller? I was going to call him Waller at this moment in time. Have you seen much of him in NXT? Are you impressed with him? Why is he on?
I must admit, I don't watch a lot of Raw, so I haven't seen much from him. So
good.
Not much. Not when I have seen him, but first impressions aren't like I wasn't impressed. But I also think that that's more like WWE's bad booking already right from the get go. So I don't really blame that on him. I just don't really feel like I know much about him to comment about it.
Right, excellent. This is a guy who's probably the most overhill at the moment, and they've actually built him all right. And to go after AJ is quite interesting because, like I say, I'm not a huge fan of Grace Waller in ring. The character's an absolute dick, and he tells everybody he got handpicked to be here, and he took out Johnny Gargano in his last night. And you can't be more heel than that to take out Johnny Wrestling after everything he did for NXT. So I'll be interested to see where Waller goes this year. But I'm interested in what you think, because sometimes with heels, like I said, it takes a little bit of getting used to. But I think he's a guy to watch. MVP hates the Hurt Business. Owens made quick work of Cedric. Priest and Ziggler ending DQ. And then Raw ended with Eric Bischoff. We talked about retro stuff and how Eric Bischoff was overseeing the ceremony. This, of course, had nothing to do that he's been on a couple of Dynamites. We've seen The Miz and Maurice renewing their wedding vows, not their wedding wows. And Miz delivering his in French. Perfect French as well. And then Edge came out and made fun of them before blood. I say blood. It was kind of brown goo ran down and hit them and caught a bit of Bischoff, which I bet was the plan anyway. What are your thoughts of liquid falling from the ceiling? We've seen it before, but again, it works for this feud.
Yeah, I kind of really, again, like you said, it wasn't the hugest fan of like the storyline anyway, but I just didn't find it too bad. It kind of reminded me of what he did to Beth, which was fine, but it also kind of reminded me of wasn't it Stephanie and Triple H's, or no, it was Stephanie's wedding to Tess, was it, where it just got kind of ruined as well. I don't know why, I just kind of like got reminded of that because she was like, yeah, she didn't know she was married to Triple H or anything.
Yeah, that was the original with a test with Triple H taking her to Vegas. And then I think the renewal of vows between Steph and Triple H got ruined when Triple H realised he was working behind his back. We've seen a lot of shenanigans like that with weddings and renewals. But again, it might be with a best of the fresh build for Day 1. SmackDown was the best of. So we do move on to day one, of course, January 1st. And the breaking news heading into kickoff was Roman Reigns tweeting, "I yearn to perform tonight at day one to defend my Universal Championship. However, unfortunately, I tested positive for COVID. Due to proper protocols, I'm unable to compete. This video is scheduled. Look forward to return to action as soon as possible." Now, considering day one had been built on Heyman, Willie, with Reigns and Lesnar, what were your thoughts? First and foremost, like I said, wish him well in, good health. But it was a bit of a gut punch for the whole card.
Oh, definitely. I think this was the most anticipated match, coming from anyone. Especially with all the build-up. Like you said, Paul Heyman had set up really well with both men. It was something everyone was ready to see and wanted to see. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like it came out really not too long before day one was actually about to start. So it was very, very last minute that this all kind of changed. And I was baffled as to how we hadn't found out about this sooner. Usually when it comes to COVID, they would have, but I would have thought that as a company, they would have actually ensured that everyone was negative and stuff, and give us ample amount of time to actually reel from the fact that we're not getting Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar anymore. So yeah, this just kind of threw me off right from the get-go.
I feel WWE did this. They knew and they thought if they do it early in the day, because like I said, this happened. The last WNR poll to go up was the Brock Roman match, and as soon as that went out, people were going Twitter. I love our followers, but people were going, "Oh, you do know Reigns is tested positive," and it's of course. Thank you for telling me. Thanks to everybody for mentioning it. But like I said, it was an hour. It was like 11 o'clock our time, 11 p.m. An hour before, kind of kickoff. And you're thinking, whoa, and I think maybe if we left it early in the day, us fans are like, they're going, oh, it's going to be Brock versus The Rock. Or for me, my problem is there's not many dream matches left. I can't really get excited about a lot. So this was kind of one match I thought the build was.
Yeah, I think you are right in saying, maybe this is why they chose to stay quiet until shortly just before, because they know that the biggest lure that's coming from this pay-per-view is Brock v Roman. Everyone wants to see it. So yeah, I can't hide my disappointment. I really wanted to see it too, but at the same time, first and foremost, Roman's health comes first. I wish they'd have told us sooner so that we weren't as disappointed going into the pay-per-view, because I do feel like I went in, I started, watching the pre-show already kind of going in with a bit of a negative sort of output as to what type of content we were going to be getting from it, kind of thinking, whatever they're going to put together so last minute is probably not going to be worth it. As the evening progresses, of course, we'll continue talking about certain decisions that maybe possibly have been last minute decisions and whether or not they worked or didn't work. But at that moment, as you say, going into the pay-per-view and learning just an hour before that, probably what everyone was going to be calling the most anticipated match of the year so far being cancelled, it just didn't look good,
Yeah, I think that's true. And then we got straight to kickoff. Caleb Braxton hosted and was joined by Kevin Patrick, Booker T, JBL, and Peter Rosenberg. And they immediately addressed Roman Reigns testing positive with COVID, which led to Brock Lesnar being added to the WWE Championship match. Now, we talk about not having the Roman Reigns match, but to be involved in the WWE title match kind of was a bit of a game changer as well.
Yeah, you got to wonder straight away once you heard the news about Roman about what was going to happen with Brock. Personally, I genuinely thought that Brock was going to be great day off for me, So it did come as a bit of a shock for me to find out he was kind of making it a fatal 5-way.
Well, it's interesting. It was an interesting choice. I thought, oh, maybe they'll have Brock versus, like I said, whoever, or off, but to put him there, then you're thinking, nah, they're not going to do. They're not. It's just he's there to make up the numbers. We see the panel running through the rest of the lineup. Video on Edge v Miz, and the Miz crashed the panel's desk, spoke about his match with Edge, believe it or not. DeVille joined the panel, spoke about Lynch versus Morgan. She also played innocent while speaking about her own issues with Naomi. King Woods and Kofi Kingston were interviewed by Sarah Schreiber. Was declared that New Year's Day will be known as New Day Day. It's got a ring to it. Kevin Owens was shown arriving. He was wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt. Bobby Lashley and MVP were shown arriving, and then Michael Cole and Pat McAfee spoke at ringside about the Reigns situation and updated the W Championship match, and then we get the kickoff match, which is Sheamus and Ridge Holland versus Ricochet and Cesaro, and we see an early injury suffered by Holland. And at first I'm thinking, too bad. The replay was probably one of the best replays ever of a broken nose. And that sounds... Yeah. It didn't look too bad, but it's good.
When they slowed it down, you just kind of could feel that whole impact, and you were just like, oh my gosh. Like, you know, for me, like I said, I kind of had a bit of a negative demeanor about the way this pay-per-view was already shaping up after hearing the news of Roman not going to be able to perform. So then seeing this as the first match, it didn't go off to the best of starts, did it? Well, I mean, like,
as I said, the crowd probably thinking it. You know, everybody. I'm even watching it going, oh, it's not going to be like that, is it, tonight? And of course, that meant that Sheamus had to go it alone. And to be fair, he dominated the action, isolating the one and only, cutting him off. Man, hot tags sparked a comeback, fueled by uppercuts. Cesaro executed a swing, and then a sharpshooter, but Sheamus made it to the rope to force a break. He then evened up the odds, delivering white noise to Ricochet on the floor. Back inside, Sheamus did the seemingly impossible and hitting his former tag partner with a bro kick for the win. So the second move of the match busts his nose. The last move, Sheamus winning. This was handicapped, so credit to Sheamus, I suppose, who beat him. But, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, fair play to Sheamus for being able to kind of adapt to a 2-on-1 handicap and still come out the winner. I mean, that's not easy to do, especially because usually when a handicap match is booked, it is booked in order for that, you know, minority to lose and be horribly dominated. So, in a sense, I'm happy for Sheamus, but this should have definitely been changed very last second, the moment that happened with Ridge Holland. If that was supposed to be the overall outcome, that they were supposed to come out winners, and then this happened, I think there should have been an easy switch to say, like, to have Cesaro and Ricochet win and actually give them a bit of momentum, considering whatever, like, straight away, you know, as a fan, I'm already cottoning on to the fact that his nose is broken. That's going to actually slow down storyline progression when it comes to him and Sheamus and whatever they had sort of plans going forward for these two. So straight away, I'm looking into Ricochet and Cesaro. I don't know what Vince's problem is, but these two are two of the most highly underrated wrestlers on that roster, and they really deserve a push. And I genuinely was teased with one when it came to, like, sort of Cesaro's push against Seth Rollins, and they've done nothing with him since.
Yeah, but
and it's incredibly disappointing.
But to be fair,
it was kind of
sorry, I don't mean about this is a difference, because, like, it seems that we talk about a lot about, oh, this talent with and this talent so talented, but with Ricochet and Cesaro, they are so talented. You know, Ricochet should be this generation's Rey Mysterio. Cesaro can do so much. It's incredible. So you are right.
Yeah. I think it's just, you know, even if the outcome was originally supposed to be Ridge and Sheamus came out on top, I think that it should have been a very last minute decision right there and then once his nose had been broken. You know, we all know that, like, backstage communicate to the ref. The ref could easily have, you know, just said, you know, swap things about, you know, give them a win and we'll just go for a push with them instead. But, you know, I don't know if this is just sort of for WWE. I don't know if they look at this as, like, just something they can still deal with. You know, I just wish that they would kind of have a bit more of a better output when it comes to sort of quick thinking.
Yeah, like I said, they had to change it on the fly, and it made Sheamus look like John Cena against the Nexus. I suppose the only positive is Cesaro and Ricochet got some airtime. That's the only positive. These two guys could add so much more to WWE programming. It makes. What are you going to score this out of 5?
I feel really bad, but I am gonna get. I'm gonna give it a 2.8. I think because of the slip up with Ridge and everything, and then kind of the outcome being that we're supposed to all believe that Sheamus was able to come out on top of this as well. Like, I just think it was handled all wrong. So I'm gonna 2.8.
I'm gonna give it 3.25 because, like I said, with these three guys, it's worthwhile, I suppose. But the big news is the prediction league begins, and like we said, we're gonna do predictions for WWE, AEW, and the NXT takeovers. And I know it might be an unfair advantage for some that watch NXT and some don't. That's why the bonus predictions matter so much. And also, a league win will give you, I think, 5 points. So we'll have to discuss it and make sure we all agree on the terms. And of course, we do that on a Rumble. But at this moment in time, we're going to start off on the kickoff. Cesaro and Ricochet with Monty and James's pick. Gina and Jaxie went Sheamus, Ridge. So Jaxie and Gina are 1-0 up, and Monty and James and Cesaro, of course. And this hopefully will change. No spoilers. I didn't have a great night. Don't worry. We'll see what happens. Poll-wise, Cesaro, Ricochet, 62.3% of the poll. Leclerc 95, Cesaro, Ricochet, Nick 35, Sheamus and Ridge. And, like I said, we always appreciate people with the polls. We saw Biggie was walking through backstage area with his title belt over his shoulder. The panel spoke about the new main event. And JBL made a strong effort to sell it. And video package spotlighted the championship match and then just added Lesnar right at the end. So on to the main show. January 1st, WWE Day 1. What was your excitement level for the event and the match most looking for, I think, pre and post Reigns?
Well, I mean, my excitement level pre-Reigns was, quite an all-time high, I'd say. I was quite really looking forward to this. I was also actually in person with my sister, Gina. So this was a chance for us to be able to watch in person together, which was really nice. Just at our house, it's not like we flew all the way to America to see it. It's not like But we were looking forward to it pre-Reigns. The most anticipated match was the Reigns match. As you can imagine, as I think I've mentioned it once or twice, I was quite deflated going into Day 1, and just kind of with the opening pre-show match resulting in a broken nose already, I'd say that I wasn't so much looking forward to what was to come, but I was more anxious as to what else could go wrong. But I also did not want to say what else could go wrong and then jinx the whole fucking thing.
That's true. That is true. Well, the main card opened with a video package that included Migos and various WWE wrestlers. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee welcome viewers to WWE's first premium live event. It can't call it pay-per-view anymore, I suppose. The address, of course, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar being added to the title match. The production crew did well to mesh Brock in on, I'll say short notice. They probably had a few hours, but to take Reigns out as well. And then the first match of the night, Jimmy Uso and Jay versus Kofi Kingston and King Woods for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. The Usos wore the Bloodlines t-shirt that featured them and Paul Heyman. Cole saying this was the 167th day of the Usos title reign, and they absolutely dominated the action until a counter into the DDT by Kingston and a hot tag to Woods sparked a late comeback. Woods delivered a side Russian leg sweep to Jimmy, followed by a modified version of Future Shock, of course more known by Chris Sabin, but could not keep him down. Jay halted Woods' momentum and Kingston regained it for the faces with a crossbody block. Jimmy answered with Uso splash, turning his attention back to the engineer Kingston. Jimmy applied the tequila sunrise, and the champion fought to the break. The action broke down. The champ sent Woods to the floor, delivered stereo super kicks and then stereo splashes. But the King of the Ring broke. And I tell you what, the reaction from the crowd at this moment in time was absolutely awesome. And then my only problem is the Twins deposited Woods to the floor and delivered a 3D to Kingston for the win. I think after all that, a 3D, but then again, I might be wrong. What did you think?
I mean, this came out of nowhere for me, so me and my twin got really excited. Like, the Dudley Boys were two of our favorite wrestlers growing up. That Dudley Boys and Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, those three teams were kind of the reason why we loved tag team wrestling so much back in the Attitude Era. So for me, also being one half of a twin, seeing what Pat McAfee called the 1D, just kind of, I don't know. I took to it. I got excited. I loved every part of it. And it made me very excited at the end when they got the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think about that. We talk about the match itself. I mean, how many times these faced off? They faced on SmackDown, 3 weeks in a row. And they have been having classics throughout this pod's exist. This is tag team wrestling. It's like Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys, or Midnight Express, Rock Roll Express, whatever it was. It's special. And I think we'll look back in years to come and think these two teams, it's historic.
Yeah. They work so well together, and you can tell how much they trust one another, all four of them, in the ring together. Again, we say this about a few other different wrestlers, like singles match wrestlers, but when it comes to tag team wrestling, I could never get bored of watching New Day and Usos in the ring, because they always deliver in every sort of way when it comes to entertainment factor, when it comes to in-ring work, and when it comes to collaboration. They always deliver.
It is crazy that they do, and even a face-off at the end, and they start swinging. It's just, I loved it. You get into it, and I think the crowd would have lost their shit if New Day won as well. And I know Usos and Day1, but still, I think maybe wrong team there. But again, I thought this was brilliant. What are you going to score out of 5?
I'm going to give it a 4.5 because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 4 3/4 out of 5. It's the thing I love about wrestling, about a match, is when you get a match, you think, I'm not expecting much, or not in that way, but you go, I've seen this before, and you're on the edge of your seat by the end of it, and that's what you win when you go, you got me again. You got me again with it. How many times have we seen this? How many titles? And that's how good it was. It really, really was. Predictions. Usos, Monty and Jaxie went for the Usos. Gina and myself went for the New Day. So at the moment, scores, I'm on 0, Monty is on 1, Gina on 1, Jaxie on 2. Move on to the polls. We asked who we're going to win. The Usos got 55.8% precise. And like Jacob Grundy says, Usos can't lose on a show called Day 1. You're right about that.
Yeah, it's that same thing, so I like your way of thinking that.
We had these random video packages. Since Survivor Series have shown up, Biggie had one about his Money in the Bank contract. Speaking of Biggie, he was interviewed then. Patrick asked about Brock Lesnar joining. Biggie said he didn't have his own have this on his bingo card. He mentioned all of his 5 opponents. He said you can line them up and he will knock them down. He will find a way to retain his championship. And then Caleb Braxton spoke with Migos on a backstage ring set. Noted our family Atlanta, long-time WWE fans who've been watching since they were kids. Well, that's lucky then, I suppose. And then McAfee thanked them for supplying the official Day 1 theme song. Almost like they had an agreement. Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss made their entrance. Of course, they did their, I say comedy bits. I'm being offensive to comedy there. Of course, McIntyre's entrance spared them well from this more. And the match, I love McIntyre, but Madcap Moss on a pay-per-view, really? Moss held his own and back. He downed him, hulked up and set up the Future Shock DDT. Moss countered but walked right into the lowdown. Moss answered with a fall-away slam, catching Drew quite impressively, actually. But McIntyre fought back, delivered a Claymore for the pinfall victory. I'm McIntyre's biggest fan. I ain't got a lot to say. Jaxie?
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really pay much attention to this match. I think I used that to go to the toilet and things. I think I made another drink at this point too. I don't really remember the outcome of it apart from that Drew won. And I know that sounds really bad, but it's the truth.
No, like I said, maybe if it was a handicap, but Moss did all right. I will say that, but the gimmick is not going to help him. I'm going to give this a 3.25 out of 5 because it's Drew McIntyre. 3. What about you?
I'm going to give it a 3 because I didn't watch much of it, so I feel like that was pretty much what I can judge from it. I'm going to give it a 3.
Oh, it's a match of the year. You need to. Oh, no. Did I say 3? 5 out of 5. It's.
No, you know.
Yeah. Well, predictions. A bit of good news. All went Drew. So my first point. So at the moment, I'm on 1. Gina and Monty on 2. Jax, and I don't want to jinx it, but at the moment, Jaxie, you are on for an extra bonus point as well. You know what can I say? Some of us have got it. Some of us haven't.
Lucky, isn't it? Let's see if I could be so lucky.
We see poll-wise, McIntyre got 86%. Who wasted 13% of their vote to do it, eh? Who did? And Antonio Mergis really enjoys the podcast. We get Kevin Owens interviewed backstage. Owens wasn't happy about Lesnar being added to the match, but he said he would get revenge for Lesnar's soulmate, Sami Zayn. Owens said he had new plans and he had to go with Seth Rollins.
Wow.
What a moment.
Oh my gosh, I was not expecting him to say it. So when he said it, I genuinely was just laughing so hard because that is completely far from the truth.
It's just, I love it. Like I said, switch to heel for Owens, and he is back on Sammy's side. You know, and that's what you got to love about him.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
We move on, and we got RK Bro versus the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team titles. It's accompanied Randy Orton and Riddle. We get a hot start by Orton and Riddle, but negated by their focus attack by Ford and Dawkins, who teed off on Riddle and cutting him off from the Viper. Orton did eventually receive the tag and exploded into the match, unloading on a position with Fleury that included a double draping DD. And the action broke down, climaxing with Ford diving over the ring post and wiping the champions out. And back inside, Riddle popped Ford up in the air, and Orton delivered a devastating RKO for a win and successful title defense. And afterwards, Migos joined. Profits showed respect, and we had a bit of a nice loving. I mean, what were your thoughts on this? Because there's points in this I enjoyed.
Yeah, there was points to the match itself I enjoyed. I was just really baffled right from the get-go. Don't get me wrong. I know that they're the tag team champions and everything, but why didn't Migos come out with Randy and Matt Riddle? It kind of felt like they should have come out with more with Street Profits. And I'm not talking about that from a race point of view. I'm more talking about it from like a music standpoint, like the type of music Migos do. Like they would probably have had a bit of a better flow kind of coming out to the ring, you know, having a bit of a flow and a bit of a dance with the Street Profits, like that type of energy. It just felt like a really awkward dynamic of seeing Migos coming out with them. I'm not gonna lie, I was quite baffled by this decision.
But the match wasn't bad. I mean, like I said, in places, and even the assisted RK are pretty cool. To see him, working together. And like I said, not bad at all. We're gonna score out of 5.
I'll give it like a 3.3.
I'm gonna give it a 3 3/4 out of 5. Not bad from two teams that can go, and Ford can fly as well. Predictions. Jaxie, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing. You went Street Profits. Everybody else went RK Bro, Monty, Gina, James, which means, yes, they have changed the scores. James, you are on 2. Well done. Gina on 3. Monty on 3. And Jaxie on 3. Tied at this moment in time. Poll-wise.
No, I did this on purpose to let you guys catch up.
Why did you go Profit?
Do you know what? I just thought it was going to be the time to turn on, like either Riddle was going to turn on Randy, or Randy was going to turn on Matt finally, because they've been teasing it for so long. So I just kind of figured, well, they're going to start things off with a bang. I kind of like, at this moment in time, I didn't really think of what title changes could be happening on the page. So I thought that this could be one of the title changes that could have changed. So, and I knew I fucked up by choosing them the moment Migos came out with Riddle and Randy Orton, because I was like, well, Migos ain't coming out with a losing team, are they?
Fucking Migos.
I know. You chose the wrong team.
You motherfucker. Why don't you like them for? Well, that's why. Something I annoyed coming up next. Drew McIntyre searching the locker room and gets attacked from behind by Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin, leaving unable to get up. I mean, McIntyre's a serious threat. Don't do this. Spirit Squad never laid out DX, right? This ain't happening here. It's not on. And apparently he's been written off to been dealing with a neck injury. Even though he's been having this neck injury for the past few months, he's wrestled near enough every week of SmackDown, which just shows you kind of his determination. What this means for the Royal Rumble, we don't know. But then again, what better way for McIntyre to be written off for a little while and then come back at the Rumble? I think I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that he'll be out long, but I do think that you're right. If he's been kind of doing a Kenny Omega in this situation, he really should go and see to his health. I'm not necessarily sure this was the funnest way to write him off, because the one thing that I took away from this is that the feud is not over between Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin, and I really wouldn't mind seeing Drew come back and just not carry on a feud with the Happy Corbin.
But I mean, yeah, it's like the hint of mystery is gone. Like, just go backstage and see Drew laid out. Obviously, have a plan for it when he gets back. But it could be Brock. It could have been Roman. You know what I mean? It could have been anybody doing that. And then when he returns to get his revenge.
Exactly. That sort of thing could have worked with a little bit of mystery, as you said. But writing him off this way, just kind of like, all it did was make me think, oh, great. So he'll be coming back to a feud with Happy Corbin, So I hope he comes back in the Royal Rumble, and the only sort of resolving issue we get between it is that he's the one who eliminates Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss from the Royal Rumble. Leave it there, and then just let him go on to bigger and better things. I'll be happy with that.
I think that would be fair to say. We see Kayla Braxton knocking on Brock Lesnar's dressing room. Lesnar actually answered the door. She asked him about being added to the championship match. Lesnar said he could do whatever he wants because he's a free agent thanks to his advocate Paul Heyman. Lesnar said he'd win the W Championship and then called it a spoiler while winking into the camera. We then get rid of package recapping Edge and Miz. So yeah, what did you think of Brock? This is new comedy Brock.
No, honestly, he is just winning me over with every promo he's doing. I'm loving him more and more. And that little wink, I was like, ooh, Brock, you naughty boy. He literally is enjoying his character so much, and you can actually see him enjoying it, but it's actually making me enjoy the content.
Yeah, and I think that's what's vital, and I think people forget sometimes, if the person's enjoying it, we will enjoy it as well. And also we see the Miz and Maurice making their entrance, and we see, of course, the video package recap and a feud between the two. Edge was raised from under the stage while the Brood theme played, and then once Edge was halfway down the aisle, his usual went as well. Again, Edge, it's a cool fucking entrance. That's all there's to say about it.
I'm never going to get bored of it. I even got kind of really excited seeing that he was going ahead and doing the Brood entrance at first. And even I said halfway through, but I kind of wish that we got to see his,
honesty.
You're just spoiling me here. You are spoiling me. It never gets old with Eddie's music. I think it's just going to be one of those ones that everyone will rock out to for decades to come, regardless as to whether or not they were from that era.
I think we had an absolute banger along with Kane as well. So I think the fire still burns is one of those. Anyway, on to Edge versus the Miz, and a distraction by the Hill's wife Maurice allowed Miz to drive Edge into the ring post and seize control of the bout. He repeatedly bashed Edge's head into the announce table and set up the goal-crushing finale. Edge countered and drove Miz's face into the table, which did not break. Back inside, a series of pinfall attempts ended with Miz sending a Hall of Famer to the ring post. He had a chop block applied to the figure four, furthering damage to the knee. We get more counters and reversals. Edge applied a crossface. Miz rolled across the ring to reposition himself, allowing Maurice to put her husband's foot on the bottom rope and force a break. Miz ramped up the aggression, but Edge delivered a hip toss from the top rope. Maurice hit Edge with a pocketbook, allowing Miz to deliver a skull-crushing finale for a dramatic near fall. Maurice argued with the ref until Beth Phoenix returned and made a beeline to the squared circle. She chased Maurice around ringside. Distraction Miz, allowing Edge to deliver the spear for win. What were your thoughts on this? Because there was a lot going on here.
There was a certain level of frustration throughout the match at one point of just seeing Maurice getting herself involved. And this is something we all should have expected, because this is usually what comes of Miz and Maurice matches, like even in the past. So we should be used to this sort of thing already. But I was just kind of getting annoyed. And even I was saying to myself, like, if Beth Phoenix is not coming out and kicking some ass or something, then I'm just going to riot and ask why the hell we were just fucking put through this. So I was very, very, very pleased to see that I was right in my findings of, in my predictions of Beth Phoenix was going to return. And she looked absolutely fucking incredible. Yeah. I'm sorry. I had the biggest crush. I got goosebumps at looking at her. She looked angry, but she looked sexy as hell. She looked like an ultimate glamazon, and I was absolutely excited at the very thought of her being back in the ring. So if this is the only way to get Beth Phoenix in a ring, then I'm not going to complain too much at sort of like the amount of fuckeries that went on during the match. I just hope that this isn't just a one-off marital feud that Beth is coming back for. I really hope that we do get a bit of a push, because I'm not going to lie, I want to see Beth kick Becky's ass, and I hope she does.
Oh my god, I didn't think, Beth, I think made mincemeat of Becky. Like I said, she looked fantastic. As for the match before, I think the crowd weren't in, and I think it wasn't the crowd's fault. It's a bit like me with the Skull Crusher finale. I was sitting there and I didn't go once because I thought they're not going to do it. Usos and New Day, a little bit different because obviously they trade. I thought there was not in a million years that they're going to have them beat Edge. Like, who is the Miz beaten? Like, who is anybody beaten in the past 5 or 10 years? Bobby Lashley earlier losing to Goldberg. Legends are protected and beat younger talents. That's WWE's problem. And it's just fall. Miz is never going to do it. Ever.
Yeah. I mean, you do have to ask yourself, I mean, what the fuck are you doing to the likes of your legends if you're having not even someone that is in a good position to deserve a push to be a legend or anything like that either, So why the would it be the Miz that gets to beat someone like Edge, especially when he is one of the most loved, most anticipated returns of last year? They're not going to do that. Why would they do that?
It's just, it doesn't make sense. And they've not made Miz, I mean, people say, you beat John Cena. Look how he beat him. Even Miz can't remember how he did it. The Rock's involvement about building to a next WrestleMania. The thing that annoys me about WWE is that their mindset, and I saw it on a tweet, rather than going, what superstars, what Ricochet and Cesaro, can we make them into main eventers? They say to themselves, what legends do you want to see brought back? Stop bringing fucking legends back. It's not about who can come out of retirement now. It's about who can,
Just fired a shit ton of people. Like, you don't have that much talent left. How about you focus on, building them up, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to shit all over him, but I think this is WWE's inability to build new stars, from MVP and Mr. Kennedy and all these Chris Masters and Carlito, and dating back since this Ruthless Aggression, and they've done nothing since then. The two biggest stars since that moment, CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, are wrestling for the other company now. You know, there's no one else. The Shield, if the Shield hadn't arrived, how would we look? You know, how arse backwards would it be? You know, and people moan about Roman Reigns being in the spotlight. I hate to go on, but this is why the fans won't accept it. They look at Miz and just be like, well, we'll just wait and we'll cheer the end. Beth Phoenix coming out was brilliant. It's like I said. And also, another person that doesn't get the love she deserves, Jessica Carr. Jess Carr, WWE official. Like I said, she's been there since the Mae Young Classic. And I know Audrey Edwards might get a bit more love, but still, I'm not biased.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there.
And also, like I said, Rumble, here we come. Because to see Beth back in action is going to be really, really good stuff. What did you score this out of 5?
Simply because of like the Beth Phoenix return and everything like that. I'm going to score it 3.5.
Yeah, I gave it a 4, and I don't know why. You're talking back in now. I've annoyed myself.
I feel like I was a bit harsh there, but if I am taking Beth Phoenix out of it, it probably would have been a bit lower. Yeah. Just because of like I wasn't really. Yeah, I think with the amount of like fuckeries with that Maurice was even involving herself in, we got a lot of time without like Beth Phoenix around and stuff like that. And as you said, even some of the fans were kind of losing it a bit.
Yeah, but at least, like I said, at least we had the payoff for Beth. Otherwise,
yeah, exactly.
But I was watching this,
Too harsh, but I'm going to agree with that.
Well, like I said, no, I was watching this like it was McIntyre Moss one way. This prediction wise, did everybody go for Edge? Well, Monty did, and Jaxie, you did. Gina went for the Miz. You'll have to ask her why. Maybe we'll ask her at the Rumble.
I really don't know what her thought process was here. Man, I honestly don't have an answer for you right this moment, but you know what? I will make sure to ask her because, I kind of want to know.
Well, hopefully she'll be doing a show with us next week so we can call to her before we start and just say, what were you thinking?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Should we just...
Hopefully she's not listening. Otherwise it'll be all right. But it has changed the scores a little bit because it means that I am joined on 3 points by Gina now, and Monty and Jaxie on 4 points as we head into the penultimate match. As for polls, we see getting 82% of the vote. Zach Smith said, I got the Miz winning tonight, and then Beth will come out if Maurice gets involved. So maybe that was Gina's, not putting words in her mouth, maybe that is a fault behind it, I suppose. And then we see Bobby Lashley talk about his chance of winning the WWE Championship, took a hit in addition to Brock Lesnar to the match, but MVP cut off Patrick and said other entrants are trembling in fear over Lesnar. But that's not the case with. He said he doesn't care. He's the new year and he'll be a new WWE champion. And the Raw Women's Championship match, probably the thing I'm most disappointed about on day one. Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan for Raw Women's Championship. We see a driven, determined Liv Morgan wasting no time taking the fight to Raw Women's Champion Becky. She delivered a springboard codebreaker, fought big time Bex around ringside, and the champ reeling with a Rings of Saturn submission. A press slam for the top rope. She appeared to wake up the reality of her situation. Lynch down more and sees control about. The challenger fought back or dropkick that flattered the champ. Lynch asked with disarmer, but Morgan fought out, delivered a DDT, shattered the jaw, dropping springboard sunset flip powerbomb. Fall as the commentary questioned what the challenger needed to do to win the match. It's the leg drop from the top rope, Morgan drop kick. The champ rolled to the floor low, and when the challenger had a crossbody through the ropes onto it, Lynch again rolled to the sanctuary of the floor. There she bashed Morgan's face into the commentary table. Liv did recover low, struck in Lynch's arm in the stairs and stomping away on a limb as a call back for when the champ did it to her. Back in, she caught in the Rings of Saturn. And I thought this was it. I thought this has got to happen now. We see Lynch rolling her up for 2. Babyface set up for the Oblivion. I can't say the word, oblivion. Thank you very much. And Lynch countered. That's how shocked I am. And drove her into the mat for the clean. Lynch beat Morgan. I've run out of words here. What is the fucking...
Okay, so, like, yeah. Let's just talk about the first big elephant in the room here, which is, first and foremost, why the fuck was this the only female match that was on the card? So, like, there literally could have been any, like, you know, you have the like of fucking Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. That wasn't even a decently built storyline. You could have definitely built up the likes of having Naomi and Sonya even on this pay-per-view. They probably could have done with having like another round of Tony versus Charlotte had Tony not have walked out. But seriously, they did nothing to try and add another female match. Are you serious? Like, you guys have added matches like 15, 20 minutes before the pre-show is due to start. Like, so that is the main issue, is like, what the fuck was with that? Secondly, Liv Morgan had such great energy in this match. She definitely, you know, brought her A game, really was kind of countering hard. She did that amazing sunset flip that I saw come from nowhere. It was really impressive in my opinion. And yeah, she had all the momentum in the world. And I just wish that this was what WWE remembered when it comes to, you know, how to build talent, because this is exactly how you do it. And they had all the momentum in the world to go with Liv, and decided not to. I don't know. They pulled the plug. I don't know. Again, it kind of, the end just looked very sloppy, in my opinion. It's not me trying to always pick faults here with WWE, but it seems to me like, you know, Becky was meant to appear like she was cheating or you know, holding on to the top rope, but holding on to the bottom rope with her foot, but she couldn't actually reach. I think it was quite apparent that was supposed to happen, but it just kind of didn't. So it just meant it was a clean pin. The match itself was like kind of good because of, you know, like Liv Morgan was trying her best and she did have some really cool moments. But just again, overall, you've just squashed yet another woman, which you don't have that many more of, that realistically you could actually go into thinking or believing anyone could beat Becky Lynch. So what are you to do at this point now? I just feel like WWE are stuck in a rut with their women's division, and I really don't know how to help them.
Well, I think there is a way to help them, and I'll get on that in a second. I think playing devil's advocate, there was WWE pay-per-views last year, 4 of the 7 matches were women's, so maybe we become accustomed to it too much, but you're right, one match is not enough, and I think the way around it's got to be unification for the tag team titles, because the tag team division in Raw and SmackDown aren't that great, and also the women's champion. Charlotte is champion, mate. You know, what is the point? Just have Lynch, right? If it is just to placate her ego, then it's just a waste of time. Build up a women's tag team division that you haven't got, and have more contendership matches, not contender matches where you face the champion, but 2 people facing off to face the champion. That makes sense. On pay-per-view, there's enough talent there. You've got, you know, Sasha Banks not doing anything at this moment in time. Yes, she might have suffered an injury, but she should be fine. Bayley coming back soon as well. Like I said, the amount of talent that's there, not everybody needs to quit, you know.
You've got Alexa Bliss coming, you've got Doudrop, you've got Naomi, you've even got the likes of Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, which you've done nothing with. You know, like even the women's tag belts, where were they on the title picture? You could have even just put, you know, Doudrop and Tamina in a match and just chuck them on the pre-show. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like you guys don't have the woman power, because you do, but it's just lazy booking.
Liv should have won. Lynch would have lost nothing at all. She would have just said, "Oh, you beat me." She could have won a title back at the Rumble, and that would have been fine. And people were going, "Oh no, Liv might win at the Rumble." There's no way now. Lynch is not going to be champion going into Mania after this. And again, this is WWE's problem. Would they let Liv go? I mean, Liv talking about, you know, with Ruby Soho and all this lot, the connections there. But WWE needs to stop fucking around with it. And Becky needs to work. Becky needs to work on her selling. Not just the selling, her worrying. The worried look of straight away you meant to build to a crescendo. I've mentioned it before. And also, stop talking. Fucking cover your face. We don't want to hear every move you're giving Liv Morgan. There's little things that make a good performer into a great performer, a great performer into a kind of, a Shawn Michaels-esque or something like that, I know it's frustration. Yeah. And it took 5 minutes on the ropes to sort out the finish, and they still bought.
Yeah.
Apart from that, right. I enjoyed it.
No, I think, as I said, I do think that there were aspects of it that was really good. I do think that, Liv Morgan really outshone, and kind of showed people what she can actually do. But yeah, whether or not Liv chooses to stay, I'm not entirely sure.
It is crazy. Out of 5 for this, what are you going to score it?
I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm going to give it a 3 3/4. I think I was just so pissed off by the finish. Liv, it was performance. A great performance by Liv Morgan. Nothing taken away from there. Poll-wise, Morgan was the favourite as well, 53%. Nick, 35 to Liv. Sen's rap says it's Liv's time. She's ready for the spotlight and deserves to get a solid run and women's champion leading into Mania. It's unfortunate to get that. Prediction wise, well, I'll tell you what though, everybody wanted Morgan to win. There's only one person that put their neck out. I went for Liv Morgan to win this match, and that's not why I'm annoyed. But you would think that everybody else would go, yeah, no, Monty, Jaxie all went. So the scores at the moment: James on 3, Gina on 4, Jaxie 5, Monty 5. It's disgrace.
Look, I'm just realistic. We all know that Vince loves having the titles on Becky and Charlotte. So why bother? Falsely tell myself when I know Liv is not going to win.
Well, we see one person that was happy with Becky was, of course, Seth Rollins, and he's talking about he's going to stomp heads and win the W Championship. He actually has got a win over Brock Lesnar as well. But they want to give us what we want. They want to give us Liv Morgan winning the Women's Championship, but they're going to give us Johnny Knoxville in the Royal Rumble match. What is this, 2001? Like, what?
Oh, God. I literally was like, there's another Jackass movie coming out? Are you serious? Like, what? And then he said that he was going to be in the Royal Rumble, and I genuinely just looked at my sister and I just said, oh, is he genuine? Are we supposed to be excited by this? I didn't know if he actually I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Johnny Knoxville's a great actor and great at what he does, but I don't want to see celebrities jumping in the Royal Rumble when I know you're not going to be winning and realistically going for the belt at WrestleMania. I don't give a fuck about that.
It's like...
and actually I don't see actual wrestlers having the opportunity.
Well, Ricochet doesn't get in the Rumble, but Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah.
But luckily, finally, we are at the main event, the WWE title on the line. Big E, the champion, not coming out last. That was, of course, reserved for Brock Lesnar. So we've got Big E, Brock, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Bobby and Lash. And the Beast Incarnate unloaded on everyone in his path, introducing Owens and Rollins to Suplex City. Lashley drove Lesnar through the timekeeper position, only been through the announce table by Big E. Seeing Lashley and Lesnar interact, though, was pretty cool. Rollins and Owens delivered a double DDT to Lesnar, driving in the ring steps as a unified front, attempt to keep Lesnar out of the match. Moments later, Rollins attempted to stomp on Big E, mid-run by Lesnar, who delivered the F5 and then down Big E with one as well. Hit Owens with an F5, but a spear from Lashley stopped the path of Rage, and really, really close near fall as well. And just when it looked like Lashley had the hurt lock in, finishing Brock, Big E saved him, only to find himself at the receiving end of an F5. And 3 seconds later, there was a new WWE champion. It was breathless for 10 minutes. Unbelievable. What were your thoughts on the match before we get into everything else?
I mean, it was, as you just said, actually incredible to watch. It just did not stop. It did not slow down once. It was absolute carnage right from the get-go. And that's kind of what it needs to be when you have that amount of talent in one ring. You know, you ultimately had like a bunch of beasts in a ring, and they all could not contain one another. They all were just going at one another. I absolutely, really, really enjoyed the uh, sort of unlikely duo of Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, and really wouldn't mind if they end up like becoming some sort of legitimate tag team throughout the year at some point. That I think that could be quite entertaining too. Especially we all know Kevin Owens can't keep a partner for long, and neither can Seth. So it'd be really interesting, like a story to see, you know, which one's going to turn on which first.
Oh, they keep turning on each other. They go, you guys, every week, stab each other in the back.
Yeah, to see which one of them's actually gonna one day be like, I'm not actually kidding.
Exactly.
But yeah, I just thought it was like the right amount of carnage that I wanted from this match. You know, I especially with knowing Brock had been added, I was like, there is going to be a serious amount of violence now that he's been added, and they did not disappoint on that.
No, like I said, the match really, really enjoyable. Kind of took you out of everything, and then as soon as Brock picks up that title, it kind of all sinks in. You go, "Oh shit, we're back in Groundhog Day." It's just the same every year around this time. Brock winning the title. I know, like his face, but well, before we get on to that with the problem there, Biggie's title reign. Got a great tweet from Drain Ramage, if that is your. It said Biggie lost 7 matches during his reign as WWE champion with 3 successful title defenses. Roman Reigns hasn't been pinned since December of 2019. 18 successful Universal title defenses. WWE seeing you as the guy versus just a placeholder. What are your thoughts of Biggie's WWE title reign?
It's really unfortunate and sad to say, but I feel like a little bit of that tweet speaks truth. You can really tell the difference between like what WWE view as a champion and someone that they view as like a placeholder. I kind of felt like Drew McIntyre at one point kind of fell into that sort of bracket, but I also feel like that was because of him becoming champion at the height of the pandemic. That sort of played a role into.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see what happens with Big E. I mean, we can't look into the future, but you know, will he be a Jinder Mahal where it's just like one and done title reign? Is he a guy that's going to come back? It's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
I was having a discussion with Gina about this, and one thing that did really kind of point out to me was that, you know, he won the title from cashing in on Lashley, and I think that there was a tweet that we saw just shortly after the match had ended, or it was during the match, and it was someone tweeting saying, imagine if he just has enough and decides to join MVP and Lashley and team up with them. And I was like trying to imagine it, and I thought it'd be really entertaining for those two to team up. Imagine them then dominating the tag team division, Lashley becoming like a double champion, and then like it being like an ongoing battle between Big E and Bobby Lashley, who potentially just keep on trying to take the belt off of one another, even as well as coexist as tag champs.
Yeah.
You know, that was just like a random idea that just stemmed from like kind of one tweet, but it's just little things like that I just always would think, do you know what, that might actually be quite entertaining. That being said, I still felt a certain level of like wounding come from myself for Big E, because I don't think that he really had a chance to make an impact, and I think he could make impact as the Universal Champion, but I don't think he was given the right amount of time to shine. And I do believe that if that had Brock not been entered into this match, my prediction would have probably been like that he would have come out on top, because that's how WWE won. Like I didn't actually vote for Big E to win, but that's because I wanted someone else to win. But I think that if it had been the original stipulation, there's a high probability that Big E would have retained, and I feel gutted for him for that reason.
Yeah, I think if you look at the match from my perspective, like I said, it's Rollins that I feel. He wins a match for number one contenders, and it turns to this. How does that even fair? But
you know what? I'm kind of glad about that because of, like I kind of don't mind like this irritating Seth that we've got. So this just gives him more ammunition to kind of complain about. So I just look forward to his like next rant about the fact that he was screwed over by having all of these men added to the picture. So Seth is one of those wrestlers that I just feel like doesn't even need the title to be good. Just give him a mic and he just works wonders. So I'm sure he'll get another chance at some point down the line.
Well, that's what I said I like about this match as well. Owens and Rollins were the kind of bumpers of, the big Lesnar and everything like that. And I loved the story with Bobby Lashley. And it was even pointed out the next night on Raw with Paul Heyman by the side of Brock Lesnar and saying how 3 times in that match Bobby put him through the barricade, speared him and put him in a hurt lock. And I just think that was really good. And I think people were shocked. Big E pinned here was a bit of a surprise. I mean, for me, not as bad as Lynch and Belair, but kind of on that level if you take the fact that it's Brock Lesnar beating Big E. But what's going to ask you, you'll be the perfect person to ask it, is the Brock Lesnar gimmick now make it all acceptable and different?
I wouldn't say that it makes it acceptable, but what I do think that makes this title change kind of a bit more acceptable and less outrage is the fact that this is something that can be helped. With the current pandemic, none of us know as and when we could actually catch it. So it is something that does require, especially when it's a title picture like this, and hours to go, it does require some quick time thinking. Can I say that I'm absolutely over the moon at the outcome? No, I'm not, because I'm very gutted for Big E. But at the same time, I still think that this has got made for some good content to come if done right. They did the match really well, considering they had such little time. And I felt like, there was a moment in the match where each man had a time to shine. And this also just kind of really built up that greatly anticipated match that not only the wrestling fans but the wrestlers themselves want, which is ultimately going to be Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. So
I completely agree with you there, and it's interesting to see, people go, well, no, WWE got a long-term plan for what happens at WrestleMania. Oh, really? They knew what was going to happen here? No, they've tore up the script, and they've kind of done this now with Brock Lesnar kind of shock value, and will it pay off? It will be interesting to see what happens. But the match, we've not even scored it out of 5 yet. That's how much into detail we've gone. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. What are you going to score the main event?
Yeah, I'm probably going to do the same. Give it a 4.5. I thought it was really good.
I think it was really, really good stuff, yeah. And then predictions, Jaxie, you went Lashley, which I thought was a bit of a surprise. But Monty...
Again, this comes back with the Fatal 4-Way, and I was looking at this from a point of view where I felt like Lashley would have pinned either... ultimately, I thought he was going to pin Kevin Owens. I didn't think Big E was going to get pinned.
Well... what it means is that we all went Big E, apart from you, Jaxie. None of us scored any points there. So the final scores for the very first predictions of 2022. 3 out of 7. James, yes, you got a lot of work to do, son. Had an off day. 4 out of 7. Now, 5 out of 7 Monty, and 5 out of 7 Jax, which means the scores after the first pay-per-view is a point each to Monty and Jaxie. So 1 Monty, 1 Jaxie, Gina 0, James 0. But the next points are on the line at the Rumble, plus we're going to have Rumble mini games with bonus points as well. But Jaxie, you won the first predictions of the...
Well, I feel like this is just kind of like spoiler territory with how the year is going to end, really, with my ultimate win. This just goes. They always say that if you start in the running, then you're most likely going to be the one that comes out of it. So watch this space.
Well, I said is Monty did well as well. It'd be an interesting fight. I need to pull myself together. We need to ask Gina why she voted the Miz, and that would have changed. That was the only ring. She would have had a point as well. That's the way it goes.
And watch, she's going to be very much more competitive now. She's going to be kicking herself.
Yeah. Well, this is what it looks like. Let's take a look. So polls, original poll. We talk about. We put the tweet up. It was 9 p.m. It was on the Saturday. Big E got 37% of the vote. It was pretty split though. Big E 37%, Kevin Owens 28, Seth Rollins 25, Bobby Lashley 8.
What? Right, what is wrong with? We need to have words. Seriously, what's wrong with you all?
And then
we need to have a discussion.
Then I've just seen the news about Brock Lesnar. So will Brock win the WWE title? 58 people went, so they were right about that. We've got, of course, we talked about match. My match of the night was you scored that and the main event equal. Which one are you going to go for?
I think overall, in terms of enjoyment wise, I'm good and shock value. I am going to go with the main event overall, but that is mainly because, like I said, it was just absolute carnage right from the start, and you just really couldn't blink or look away. You were just going to miss something. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
MVP of the night. Well, I've got 3 really. One of them is I'm not sure which one you're going to go for. I've got Liv Morgan. That's definitely going to be there. But my other pick is New Day and the Uso because, like you said, they bring magic together each time, and I don't know actually how they do it. And I think for me, the most impressive, barring Liv, was this team, the teams.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually agree with you and go ahead and say the same. Like both the Usos and the New Day MVPs for me. If you were gonna say Liv Morgan, I would actually just give a shout out, like runner up, to Beth Phoenix for just coming to save the sort of deadness that was the coming of that match. Everyone definitely got pretty much more lit when she turned up, and it was just a joy to absolutely to see her just return.
So finally, what is your score out of 10 the pay-per-view?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5 overall.
I thought I was 7.5 over. I'm gonna give it an 8.25, just because I was expecting a lot more, and a tag match delivered after we were all jinxed. And then for me, if Morgan would have won, if a couple of other things, if my predictions had gone right, it would have been a great night. We'd have had new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, new Women's Champ. You know, it would have been fun. But instead, we're stuck in a time loop. And at the moment, you know, it doesn't look too bad. But sooner or later, we are all going to run out of time, which is depressing enough. We did ask... We did ask everybody how do they rate Day 1. Sorry, not the New Day. Okay, got 20%. Great was 30%. Awesome 17%. But the winner good with 30%. I think that's about right with our scores as well. It was a good show. Nothing special.
Yeah. I have to agree. I'm not saying it was a bad one either. I kind of feel like there was a bit of an expectation for it to kind of like be better, but I also feel like that is very much like the expectations of a wrestling fan going into the new year. Do you know what I mean? So I think overall it did the job, and I think that there is definitely a lot of good points that we can take away from this pay-per-view, but there's also a lot of, as usual, questionable points to this pay-per-view as well. Only time will tell whether or not, like, you know, there's going to be any sort of like what's the word, any sort of payoff when it comes to certain things. Like I said before, that, you know, we've kind of discussed briefly. I hope that this isn't just a one-off for the likes of Beth Phoenix returning for a match with Edge, Miz, and Maurice. You know, I'd actually like to see her in a match against Bianca Belair, in a match against Shayna Baszler, in a match against Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Bayley. You know, like Beth Phoenix has a lot to bring. You know, we've got a lot to look forward to as well. So overall, I think it did its job. I'm just probably a bit wrestling spoiled and expected more.
That's fine, and it's weird, and we talked earlier, and I was going to mention it, about the Intercontinental title, because I thought it was going to be on the line at day one. One of the best contributors that we got, Stuart Lawson, is just a gentle reminder that WWE's done yet another pay-per-view with no IC match. The last time the Intercontinental Champion was on the main show of a pay-per-view and also defended the title was, Jaxie, can you guess when it was? I put you on the spot, I apologise.
SummerSlam?
WrestleMania.
Oh, it was WrestleMania. Oh my gosh. I thought it was SummerSlam, but it's not. Oh, wow.
That's how we are on the road to this WrestleMania.
Shinsuke deserves more as well as the title, the IC title. Come on, guys.
He did, and he also pointed out as well, old Stu, last night Brock Lesnar became the 5th person to win the WWE Championship in 3 different decades. Hogan did it in the 80s, 90s, noughties. Rock did it in the 90s, noughties, and the 10s. Triple H did it in the 90s, noughties, and the 10s. Orton did it in the 90s. No, he did it in the noughties, the 10s, and the 20s. The same as Brock Lesnar. It just shows you who they think is the main event. Finally, Raw notes, like I said, Heyman was by the side of Brock and back being the advocate. I'm the AJ with ease and a banging main event. The original Fatal 4-Way, that should have been at day one. We get Bobby versus Brock set for the Rumble. I think you and I agree. Save us for a Rumble. That builds an extra bit of excitement.
It definitely kind of piqued my interest for it more. I mean, the Rumble always kind of brings about excitement. Ultimately, it's because of the match itself. It's just always entertaining. It's always exciting. But to finally now be getting that match for sure is exciting because of this is something that even we all know that Lashley's been wanting. So I'm very excited to see this.
Yeah, we've got 2 Royal Rumbles with hopefully some nice surprises from an Oscar return or some NXT Io Shirai coming up in NXT as well. We've got Beth Phoenix and Edge versus Miz and Maurice, and we're going to have Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. So there is something there. We might have seemed a bit harsh, but we are looking forward. Of course, we're going to do a live show where we're going to talk about it. We have predictions as well, so that would be. But that is it for today. Don't forget, across all social media, Twitter at I'm at the WNRJR. Jaxie, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me across Twitter and Instagram at Jaxie Scarlett.
WNR also on Facebook and Instagram, across all Google platforms. Send us an email, the WNR podcast at gmail.com, and YouTube and the WNR podcast with all latest clips on podcasts at the same time on YouTube as they do SoundCloud on your phone, and also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. Our next episode is more Jaxie, and hopefully Gina will join us for the AEW Battle of the Belts, and we'll also look at AEW in notes since winter is coming. And of course, we're going to have a huge match to talk about, Danielson versus Page for the AEW World title, first Dynamite TBS. That should be massive.
Yep, definitely. Sounds exciting, really.
See, we can build excitement. See, that's what I'm saying. We've got so much to look forward to. The belts, we've got the Royal Rumble.
January is just full of it.
We've got so much more, but that is it, like I said. Until then, I have been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. Happy New Year to you, and thank you for joining me for the very first show of 2022.
Thank you. It was, again, really enjoyable. Always has been. I look forward to the next.
Without a doubt. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.